Now, me personally, I am a huge fan of the book of Revelation. Now, I know that sounds crazy, and there are a lot of Christian people that would agree that sounds crazy, and I can't tell you how many times I have heard people say, with everything that's going on in the world and all the things that you need in your life and all the things that you should be believing God for and that you need God to do and that you need to work on about yourself, the book of Revelation is the last book that you need to be reading and looking into and fooling around with. There's a whole bunch of other things in the Bible that you could be focusing on, studying on, reading about, feeding on that you need. And the book of Revelation is just really not one of those books that you want to hang out in. And I get I get what they're saying. I understand what they're saying. My only point is that the book of Revelation, for those of you that don't know, it's the last book in the Bible, and it is the only book that has, in the beginning of at the beginning of the book, it's the only book that has a specific and unique and distinct blessing attached to reading it. It is the only book in the Bible where God has the author say, "Blessed is the man or woman," and man means mankind, "that reads this book." So, of course, the only book in the entire, of all the 66 books in the Bible, that there is a specific blessing on for reading is the book that people don't want to fool with. But that's neither here nor there. And so being a person that loves the book of Revelation and that feeds on it and reads it by the chapters pretty much every day, this coronavirus has sparked a series of interesting thoughts, and I want to present those thoughts to you as I head over to the gym, because you know that's what I do. And that is this: in the book of Revelation, in the 5th chapter, right? So in chapter 4, it's talking about the saints of God that stand before the throne. It's when the church is raptured and caught away. If you don't know what that means and you would like to know, and you would like me to do a video about the rapture, let me know in the comments below, and I will be more than glad to service you in that way. And then in chapter 5, it talks about, and then throughout chapter 4, throughout the course of chapter 4, it talks about the seals. And there was a voice that goes out that was asking, who in the earth, who under the earth, who in heaven, who in hell even, is worthy to open these seals? And as the story goes, it winds up being Jesus who is worthy to open these seals. We find that out, and there's great rejoicing that happens over that. In chapter 5, Jesus starts opening these seals. And when he opens these seals, the opening of these seals, they're really scrolls. When he unseals these scrolls, it releases a series of beings into the earth called horsemen. You've heard of the horsemen of the apocalypse, and that sounds like a very ominous, gloomy, dark, scary phrase. And it's been seen that way, but really what it means the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The apocalypse means like the unveiling, or that's what Revelation means the unfolding of something. So in essence, these are 4 horsemen that are released at the end of the human age and the end of time as we know it. There are 4 of them. One is the Antichrist. One is one that facilitates war. Another facilitates famine. And there's another one in particular, I think, that releases. So you have war, you have the Antichrist, you have famine, and you have, I believe it's the horseman that brings death. Death in Hades is with him. I was thinking about those 4 horsemen and thinking about the book of Revelation because I'm there a lot, and it's hitting me in a different way, reading about these 4 horsemen, reading about the things that are going to happen at the end of the church age into the tribulation. And what it does is it creates a warning. It creates a sense of urgency and a sobering reality in my heart about how close we are to the end of life as we know it, end of the age of human history as we've known it. I don't like to say the end of the world. I don't like those terms because it sounds very doomsday, but we really are, long story short, getting really close to the coming of the Lord. And I say that because if you see how this virus is spreading, the nature of it, the fear that it's causing, and the fact that we don't know much about it, don't know what causes it, can't really tell who has it. There could be a person that has it and is not affected and doesn't have any symptoms and won't get affected by it, but if they come in contact with somebody else whose immune system is not as strong or who's not as healthy, and they can contract it and it can kill them. It's a whole myriad of unanswered questions, and it's spreading like wildfire. And I just got a report today that South Africa just got hit with its first case. Then you take that and you compare that and add on to it I don't know if you've heard about it in the news, the plague of locusts that is consuming parts of Africa and killing their crops, and it's becoming a national emergency over there. This swarm of locusts that has just come out of nowhere that is destroying it. If you know anything about locusts, locusts are very ugly creatures, very ugly. The way that they reproduce themselves is absolutely horrifying, and there really is no way to kill them. And if you're going to kill them, you have to kill them all, because of not just by nature of how they reproduce themselves. It's a very gross and a really demonic process if you really think about it, and it's consuming and killing things. If you look at everything that's going on, all of these things are, to me, a red flag to help us understand how close we are to the time of the end. Because what I believe we are experiencing are tastes of the kind of events that are going to hit the earth when the church is gone. When Jesus cracks the sky open and catches the church up, and the world enters into what's called the tribulation, which if you want more information about that, let me know in the comments and I will furnish you with more information about that. When the church is gone and the tribulation begins, this is the kind of state that the world is going to be in perpetually. Like, we're in it, we are experiencing the bedlam and the commotion and the catastrophe of this very real, serious event, coronavirus. I get that, 100% get that. But that is nothing. This is nothing compared to what it's going to be when the tribulation period of the earth begins and the church is no longer here. I just feel that it's important that we keep all this in perspective, because I know that this event will pass. I know that this thing is going to lift. It's going to leave as quickly as it came. Life will continue. And it's going to leave us, this coronavirus situation is going to leave us, I believe, leave us in a better state than when it was introduced to us. Because we're going to grow, we're going to develop, we are going to learn so much about ourselves, about the environment, about medicine, about health, about our place in Christ, whole 9 yards. But it, I think, serves as a preview, if I may, of what life is going to be like during the tribulation, and the fact that you really don't want to be there. You really want to do your due diligence to be sure that your relationship with God, your relationship with Jesus Christ is tight, so that when Jesus steps into the clouds and the angel blows the trumpet and he says, come up here, and the church is raptured out, you are a part of that number. Because believe me when I tell you, you do not want to be here on the earth when the church is gone.